White Room is coming back.
It is. It's coming back 30th of November, I believe.
30th of November. Who's going to be your first guest?
I believe it's MK Williams off the top of my head. She's been on before. She's brilliant.
Have I had MK Williams on? I don't think I have I?
No, but you should do. You should get in touch with her. I can.
Yeah, should. I'm not booking right now. I'm finishing my novel.
Eventually finishing the novel.
I'm actually now wrapping up The New Beginning. I'm wrapping it up. I'm finishing it. I'm almost done. I'm putting it to the beginning again. So I have nothing to do other than, if I want to go back and like write the history of the human race, of where we started as monkeys or something. I could do that, but I don't think I want to. So I think I'm right there at the very beginning.
So working on the novel it is then.
What's that?
Working on the novel it is then.
Yeah.
Until you come up with another short story idea.
Oh no, those are happening too. I've like working on now it's 4. I'm working on 4 this month. I'm trying to fit in 4. There was I think it happened on the Right Room, your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody posted Crystal Lake Publishing anthology.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got so excited. I was actually working on a piece for them, and I worked all Saturday on their proposal. And I was very excited because I had an idea, something to do with black holes and highways in Las Vegas. And I sent it to them, and like right there on the proposal, I said, if you do not put the proper subject heading in, we will delete you immediately. So I copied their subject, I put it right into the subject line, and I went through and I, edited the crap out of my proposal, and then sent it to them. And I'm like, huh. And I went back in and looked at my sent emails, and I had actually not put in a title. So I'm thinking that they probably deleted me, and all the effort that I put in on Saturday went to naught.
Can you not resend it?
I don't know, because Saturday was the last day. Saturday was the last day. Are you excited?
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it could take a little while. They might, feel for me.
Am I excited about what?
Are you excited about getting back with White Room? With everything that's happening with the novel and...
I wasn't supposed to restart it until January because I kind of thought I'd give this year for Noah Finn and my copy editing course, which is almost done. And I've kind of missed doing the regular podcast. So I've picked a day, and it's going to be hopefully, if I can get the guests, 1 per week, and we'll go from there. I don't think it'll be a whole year-round thing. I'll probably do it for a couple of months and then take a break. But it's
you can do 1 per week.
Yeah,
you're aiming for 1 per week.
If not 1 every other week. It just depends on the interest I get from my guests and whatnot. So
how were you doing it last time? You were advertising just blanket, like anybody want to be on my podcast, or were you reaching out to specific authors and saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you?
A bit of both, actually. I extended the invitation to Kristen Martin, who is quite well known, and she was more than happy to come on. So that was an invite. But then I've kind of just left the invitation open as well. Like if you're an indie, providing it's not really graphic erotica or anything like that, I'm more than happy to have anybody on. Purely because of my target audience that listen to my podcast. I do a lot of work in schools, and I would hate to upset anybody that listens to the podcast thinking it's going to be friendly and nice, and to surprise them with graphic erotica. So
I think it would be hilarious to have like a graphic erotica novel on your podcast, and then what you should do is just have your camera real close to you so I could see how flushed you get as the podcast goes on. You might actually pass out.
To be honest, I will read anything. I will talk to any author. It's purely to keep the channel appropriate for my readership. But yeah, I mean, romance authors, more than happy to speak to them, even if there are sexual elements in. It's just if you write in the next 50 Shades, I'm really sorry, but at the moment I just can't accommodate for that.
You consider 50 Shades graphic erotica? Is it graphic erotica? I thought it was more like romance or something.
Oh no, I consider it. Well, I've read them all. I'm not bothered about admitting that I've read them all. I know people are like, oh, I don't really want to be associated with 50 Shades. I've read them. I enjoyed them. a little bit too much sex in it for me, to be honest. I kind of got a bit fed up with it after a while.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the story. But yeah, just a little bit too much sex in it for me,
Oh,
for being honest.
gotcha. I guess there's an element of you want it not completely spelt out for you. You want to
Well,
go
the
miss
first
it or
book's
something.
kind of a novelty, isn't it? When you read it because everybody else is reading it and saying, "Look at all the sex in this book," and you read it just because you're curious, and then
Yeah.
you kind of get in with the characters and in with the story. And I read it because I was curious to see what would happen. But after the first book, I was kind of like, "Yeah, we get it. They're having
She's
sex.
not
We
a
get
very good
it."
writer. I think we talked about her before, actually,
Yeah, I
not
mean, I
being very good.
enjoyed them, and I'm pleased that they're made into movies and that they're successful, because she started as an indie, so obviously more than happy to support the fact that she was originally indie. She's now doing really well for herself, so I'm pleased for that.
Millionaire.
Exactly, but after a while, it just gets a bit samey. So I think it should have done any more than 3 books. I'd have been a bit fed up by the end of
Well, I
it,
mean,
but
if you're making millions of dollars off your books and you're a bad writer and you can write a book a year, you might as well just keep writing your bad fiction and
well,
make your
I wouldn't
millions of
say that
dollars
she's
every year.
I wouldn't say she was a bad writer. I enjoyed the books. I thought the prose was okay. It was just the characterization for, did they call her Anna, the main character? The characterization for her, I just found was a little bit samey. She kind of only had 2 or 3 kind of outlooks on life, and they all
Oh,
just got a bit, I don't know, I just didn't like the character as much as I thought I would. And for a protagonist, you're supposed to bond with the protagonist
yeah.
more than anybody else, and I didn't find that I did. But I read them anyway, and I enjoyed them, and they are what they are. So
I've heard that she's not a very smart protagonist, though. And you want to
no,
feel
I didn't get
smart.
the feel. I didn't feel as
Yeah.
sorry for her as I thought I would, and I don't know. I just wasn't as invested, but I
I
enjoyed the
guess I
book.
don't even know the story though. And you know what's interesting to me is I read your novel, Noah Finn, and The Art of Suicide,
Hmm.
and I actually felt really connected with your protagonist. And I felt really connected with your suicide. You gave me the gift of beta reading for you. And
Yeah, thank you for that.
yeah, no problem. Thank you for letting me read it. What's the situation with your novel? What's happening with it? Is it being released soon, or what's your
Yeah,
game plan as far
yeah.
as that's concerned?
Basically, I wanted the book to be out for Christmas because I have 2 reading and signing events planned, and I kind of got the feeling that they were on the understanding that my new book was available. So I have to release the book in December. So I targeted it at December 2nd,
Uh-huh.
advertised it December 2nd, and all was going brilliant. I even ordered I've ordered my bulk stock for the book, and then the other day was watching, and I mean the other day, was watching United 93, the TV movie that they made about the one that crashed.
I think that was a movie. Wasn't that a
Oh,
movie movie?
was it a movie? I don't know.
I think so.
I've seen it
Oh
before, but
God, that was
I got about
devastating. Did
I
you
got
ever
about
see the
15
Nicolas
minutes.
Cage one with the World Trade Center? Oh God, I hate those movies so much.
Yeah, I wasn't
Anyway,
impressed
yeah.
with that. I've seen it, but I wasn't impressed. But anyway, I got 15 minutes into this United 93, and I'm quite an anxious person, and something within me just dropped, and I thought,
Ugh,
shit. And I looked at the back cover of my book and had made one
you
error.
misspelt your first name.
No. I throughout the whole book, thankfully, because I was so stressed about getting all the facts right and fact checking and
No,
going over it, I got all my
this is
bases to
such
do
a
it.
sensitive moment in history too. I think we
Yeah,
talked
exactly.
about that.
So the inside of the book is perfect, I hope. But I had not paid as much attention to the cover, and I made an error on the back cover. Now, most people probably wouldn't have batted an eyelid, but I knew it was there, and it was an extreme panic moment for me. So
Yeah.
as an indie author, I have always been open about my mistakes. I've always been open about how I fixed them, because I think it's part of the process and it's part of learning how to publish your own books, and you've got to go
Mhm.
through these mistakes to learn from them. So I panic called CreateSpace, who are the printers for the book, and told them that I needed to cancel the order that I'd placed with them. And they managed to catch it just in time and issue me a refund. So thank God I've been able to make that change and re-upload them and reorder it. However, I'm now still waiting for the refund, because apparently it takes up to 3 weeks to get the money back to me. So I'm out of pocket by
Double.
over 100, well, nearly $200. Yeah, so I'm out of
Dollars
pocket.
or pounds?
Dollars, so it's about
Dollars.
160 60 quid, something
Oh.
like that. So a lot of, well, not a lot of money to some people, but as an indie, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. And that's 2 orders
It's a
of
lot of money
books,
to
right?
spend on books. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's two times $200 effectively that I've had to fork out for, and I'm waiting for one of those to come back. But in that time, they've also suppressed the book twice, which I didn't even know was a thing until it happened the first time when I first hit publish and
There's a lot of, I wondered about that. There's a lot of art ofs, you know, like Zen and the art of archery, or Zen and the art of motorcycle
Yeah,
maintenance, and there's a lot of stuff like that. And I guess
yeah.
that's probably what keyed them off a little bit. It was like, huh, another one
Well,
of these art of things. Let's find out if
it's not
she's,
gonna it's not going to be a human being that's doing it, and I know that for a fact
yeah.
because of what I'll tell you in a minute. But I think it's a bot that basically scans the internet and thinks, has this been done before? Is it the same author? And they just have to check with you, which is fair enough. You know, I've given the credit; they're doing the job. So they suppressed the order, not the order that I'd placed, but the actual book itself, and basically just emailed me and said, "We think there might be an issue with this copyright. Can you just confirm that you own all the rights to it? Blah blah blah, and we'll sort it out for you." So I did that. It only took them about 24 hours, and they just came back and said, "Yeah, no worries, all's back to normal. Thanks very much for replying." So that was that. I got my new order in. And then I went on to see if I could figure out how much to actually charge for Noah Finn and the Art of Suicide, and realised that none of my sales channels were available. So that's kind of something that
What do you mean by
that is
sales
ongoing.
channels?
So when you publish with CreateSpace, you can choose where you want to publish it with. So if you go for the standard distribution, it's just on kind of Amazon. If you go for expanded distribution, it's Barnes and Noble, and they make it available elsewhere. And you can basically say how much you want to charge in euros, in dollars, in pounds, and it's up to you to set all that and sort it out. But when I went in, the options weren't available, and it just kept saying you need to select your channels. And I'm thinking, well, I'm trying, and you're not letting me do it. So when I queried it with the people at CreateSpace, they've come back and said that it looks like whilst the book isn't suppressed, the sales channels are.
What?
And I think it's just the same thing again. I think the bots have just picked it up, that because I've had to republish it since and reorder it since, I think the bots have just done exactly the same as they did before, and they've picked up on it. So I'm hoping in a day or two, CreateSpace will just email me back and say, no worries, back to normal, onwards and upwards. And that's that. So it's been a bit of a pain.
The interesting thing about this is that, you know, we're friends, we talk off of the podcast, obviously we email back and forth, and I've been privy to this kind of process. It's stressful. Like, you've been kind of under the gun. I know you in terms of your list and your goals and what you want to accomplish by certain dates. And I've wondered, and I haven't emailed this to you, but I'm wondering, is this something that you needed to accomplish by a certain time because it was on one of your lists?
I wouldn't say it was on a list, but I knew I had a deadline to meet. And if I don't meet my deadlines, I panic.
Yeah.
I have anxiety anyway. I've suffered with anxiety for years, and it's not like a secret fact or anything. It's just something about me that, unfortunately, because I'm an indie author and there's a lot of pressure on indie authors, my anxiety just seems to be worsened when it comes to publishing books. So
can we talk about that for a second? What do you mean pressure on indie authors?
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't feel any pressure. Should I feel pressure? What kind of pressure should I feel?
I think what I mean by that, Brian, is the deadline that I set for myself and get it into indie bookstores, because obviously now I've got 3 indie bookstores that are stocking the books, that are expecting the books.
Yeah.
And I've got covers to design and editing to do.
And you did that to yourself.
Because I
push those indie bookstores, and they know you because of Pandora, right? And
exactly.
They now you have a relationship with them that you built up. That's impressive, because they don't usually take stuff like that off the street, do they?
No, so I think the pressure's obviously self-inflicted. It's nobody's saying to me, you must do this by this day.
Yeah.
But because I've kind of built that relationship up, and I've got certain expectations of me now, and I have got readership, and I have got fans, and I just don't want to let those people down. So I think as an indie author, I feel that
as
pressure.
Somebody who doesn't have that stuff, who's desperate to find it and is watching you do it, you know, from the sidelines cheering you on. You know, I see the impressive amount of work that you put into it, and it's like, oh my God.
Thank you.
I don't want to do that.
I think I
Why
just want
can't
that
it just happen like manna from heavens? I just want to watch it fall to my feet and pick it up and say, oh, thank you, God, or whatever creature is up there making the universe spin.
I think I just want to make sure that hard work pays off, and that people get the book that they're expecting to get.
Totally.
So there has been a lot of pressure.
does it look like it's going to happen, or is it going to, I mean, is it going to work out for you? Because I mean, this is like, I want to know the punchline before you finish the joke.
Yeah, it's all on track. I have my order
Okay, good.
placed, and the books are due to arrive well in time. So that's
Oh,
hopefully not going to be an issue.
okay.
So at least the book signings will go ahead. And to be honest, if for some reason they don't arrive for the first book signing, I'm sure I can just take I've got plenty of Pandora in stock that I can still go and be present. I can still read from Noah. I can still sell the ebooks there with my wristbands and things. The paperbacks just won't physically be there, but I am confident they're going to arrive on time. And CreateSpace usually resolve most problems within kind of 24 hours. And if I hadn't have made the last minute panic change, this wouldn't have happened anyway. So it's self-inflicted. It's my own stupid fault, but it's something that you just have to do, and you learn from, and you get over it, and you crack on, and that's just what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So we are
it's
on
very
track.
interesting. I'm thinking about how I do this to myself on a monthly basis too. I kind of stack stories up, and I want to finish them by the end of the month, so I start new stories. You know what I mean? You like to have deadlines, because if you don't meet the deadlines, then what's the point? You could just end in this endless void of, okay, I could just work on this forever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I like having, okay, I haven't accomplished this task, and tomorrow's the last day of my deadline. Whose deadline is it? It's mine. Well, who cares, right? No, but I care. I'm going to feel disappointed if I don't make this. And December 2nd was your deadline.
Well, I think the
And
discipline it has to be there as well, because a
yeah,
lot, I mean, the people that I look at famous authors, I look at people like Hugh Howey, E.L. James, all the big indie authors that started indie that are now doing really well. I look at them and I think you didn't get to where you were without some kind of motivation and goals and getting off your ass
hmm,
and actually doing what you say you're going to do. And I just think if
yeah,
you don't hold yourself accountable for those goals and those targets, because you're just going to get there and go, oh well, I'm just setting myself, let's just extend it another week and another week. It's like hitting the snooze button and then
yeah,
getting late for work. If you
totally.
can only hit that snooze button so many times before you really need to get your ass out of bed and get yourself to work. So
Hit that snooze button enough, you're going to disappoint enough people where they're not going to expect you
well,
to do
yeah.
anything at all.
And eventually, if you
Oh,
don't
you're a
turn up to
writer.
work
Uh-huh. Sure thing, buddy.
you don't turn up to work on time because you've hit your snooze button so many times, you're going to get sacked and you're going to lose your job. So it works the same way. And I just decided that December 2nd was my deadline, because that's my very first book signing for Noah Finn and the Art of Suicide, and a reading at the Oslo Shopping Centre in Bradford. And if I don't meet that deadline, well, I'm letting myself down, and I'm letting my readers down, and I'm letting the hosts down that have given me this opportunity.
You said yourself, right?
Um,
I mean, you're letting yourself down too. I mean, you worked really
yeah,
hard for this thing.
yeah. So, but no, Noah's, hopefully we are on track, given that the order's in, they're due to arrive well in time, and providing that there's no severe issues now between me and CreateSpace, which I really doubt there will be, we're good to go. So that's
What's
that. I
your
can just look forward to it.
what's your opinion on CreateSpace now?
I like CreateSpace. I've always preferred CreateSpace to the others. I tried Lulu, and there was nothing. I've never had any issues with them. I just wanted the option to have a matte book cover if I wanted it. So that's the only reason really why I moved over, and the prices were slightly cheaper. But all
But you
the
don't even
issues that I've
like the
had with,
matte. You don't even like the matte book cover. You said
no,
you like
not
you
no,
like
I
the
moved
shiny
for that,
ones.
and I don't actually like them. But it's nice to have the option. But no, all the issues that I've had with CreateSpace are not issues with them. It's issues that I've created that they're having to resolve for me. So it's not that I'm having arguments with CreateSpace, because I've never had anything like that with them. I am waiting for my refund, and fair enough, it was my own stupid fault. So I can't expect them to work miracles. It works at
That's
the pace
frustrating.
it works at. So it's frustrating, but it's not something that is their fault. They're just trying
Yeah.
to resolve something that an issue that I've created.
I mean,
So
honestly, that's an important detail. And we dealt, back and forth about, you had a problem with the casualties too that you wanted to get right. And that was an important detail too. I mean, you
yes.
don't want to make mistakes like that, because that'll make you feel bad. And
Yeah,
it'll
I
make,
think with
I
the book
mean,
being about 9/11, I just wanted to make sure that I accounted for everybody, that I was respectful to everybody that died on 9/11, and all the families
yeah,
that suffered the losses on 9/11. So I didn't want to miss anybody, and I also didn't want to add anybody. I don't want to add casualties to
yeah.
something so horrific.
That's what's
So I had
interesting,
to,
though. There were casualties on 9/11 that didn't even get counted. And I tried to
well,
mention it to you in
exactly.
an email once. There are casualties that weren't even in this country legally that died. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a horrible, horrible, sad day in the history of the whole world.
it was
Um,
a horrible day.
why did you pick 9/11 as an event to write about in this book?
I don't know, actually. I don't think I can answer that. I've been asked a couple of times, and the best answer I can give is that I needed something that was impactful, that a lot of people cared about, so that they would care about Noah at the same time. And I wanted Noah to learn a really significant lesson. And I think 9/11, given what happened, I think if anybody had thrown his life away and deserved to be punished for it, it would be Noah, especially on that day, because a lot of people lost their lives and didn't deserve to lose their lives, didn't want to lose their lives. They were just taken from them. And here's Noah, who has a perfectly, well, I say perfectly okay life. He doesn't really. He's got a bit of a crappy life, but
Yeah,
he has a life and he has people that love him and he has a job, and everything that's wrong with his life, he can better himself. And actually, he just decides he's going to throw that away on one of the worst days in history. And I wanted people to look at that and think, here's this guy that's got his life, and here are all these people that are losing it. Why should he be given the opportunities that they can't have? And I wanted him to learn his lesson, and for Death to say to him, look, why did it take a plane hitting the North Tower and knocking you off to teach you this lesson? Why did you not just get it originally? Why did it have to take so much and so many people to die for you to get the point? So I think that's why I chose 9/11. Probably subconsciously, I didn't kind of sit down and think, let's think of a horrible day in history that I can use to
yeah.
teach Noah a lesson. I think it just naturally came that 9/11 was an ideal date for it. But I mean, you've read the book. It doesn't particularly go into 9/11 that
No,
much. It's more
not
of a
much.
setting.
It's very interesting that you say that though,
Yeah.
because death as on an individual basis is still death. Whether 3,000 people die or three people
Yeah.
die or just one person dies, it's still a death. You know what I mean? It's still
Yes. And
singular. It's still a individual moment that happens to one person. And I think
yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, I'm completely respectful of death as it is, whether it's one person, 10 people, or 1,000 people. I wanted to, I think the reason I chose
Break
9/11
it
as well,
down, maybe.
without giving
Maybe.
away the ending of the book, there's a reason that he lands the way he does. There's a reason he dies the way he does. And I think that would have been difficult to to get across had I not chosen 9/11 as the event. But I think because it was so tragic, it's more of an impact for the reader when they're reading about why Noah should learn these lessons, because I want the reader to learn these lessons as well. And I think I wanted them to look at 9/11 and think of all these people that lost their lives, that didn't want to and didn't deserve to lose their lives, when we, the living at the moment, don't respect life and don't do all the things that we should do and aren't kind to people and aren't seizing the day. And I just kind of wanted my readers to learn that there's more to life than they think there is, and they're small problems that can easily be resolved, perhaps by just changing something about themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't look so big and it doesn't look so dreadful in comparison to what happened on that day or any historical event like that. So I've probably not explained it very well, but that's kind of my reasoning for using 9/11. And I'm just hoping that it gets across the point that I was aiming for.
It's depending who finds it, it'll be and
Mm,
it's an interesting read regardless, and I hope a lot of people do read it, and
thank you.
hopefully it spawns a readership for you going forward. I'm looking forward to what you create next. um
No pressure.
I mean, that you're a writer, you are not a write. What's the
Nope.
past tense of write? You're not a rotor.
Wrote.
You're not a rotor, you're a writer. So I'm hoping that you're still,
Well, I
developing
have
words and putting stuff out there, or
I have
hoping
the
to
next
anyway.
idea in mind. I am trying to get some of my other books out at the moment, and basically because they're completed, they just need work and they need to actually get out there. So while I'm doing those, I'm generating ideas for another novella, another visionary novella, but with a different kind of storyline, obviously, and different characters. But I am developing it. It is in the works, but I'm just waiting for that light bulb to go off for the big point of the story. I'm not quite at the ending yet, but I am generating ideas, and hopefully, it'll live up to Noah's standard. Or the
There's no
standard I've been
standard, right?
told I've set for myself, apparently.
I'm sure you set that standard when you first published your, what was it, a poem, right? When you were how old? 14, 12? I can't remember that first podcast when you told me your first
I
piece
was
was
I was 14.
14. I mean,
Yeah.
every day is a different standard for you and everybody else for that matter who tries to do anything, pick up garbage on the streets or, write a Nobel Prize winning novel.
Yeah, I think, well, Noah was a challenge to write purely because it was emotional for me to write as much as other people to read. And I think because it has got some sensitive topics in, I wanted to make sure that I respected each and every one of them for their own kind of reasons. I mean, it covers religion, it covers suicide, it covers death in general. It's a really morbid book, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But each and everybody in the world's experienced some kind of death,
You're
or
not
will
kind to your
experience
character
death.
at all. You're not kind to this poor guy, Noah. I mean, you put everything up
No,
against him.
no, I'm not. But I think at the same time, the reason I'm not kind to him is because he is the kind of person that I really don't want to ever become, and I don't want anybody else to become. I don't want people to throw their lives away like that. I think that everything that goes wrong in somebody's life is fixable. I think that I'm hoping that there's no reason for somebody to want to kill themselves, and I wouldn't want anybody to feel that they have to, that that's like the last resort. And I kind of wanted Noah to learn that it wasn't something that he had to do, and that, well, I mean, he doesn't commit suicide, and it doesn't commit suicide in the book. He's trying to commit suicide and the choice is taken away from him, but he is about to. And I think Death kind of realizes that this is the time when he actually is going to do it, is really going to do it this time. And Death's kind of glad that he doesn't, because he doesn't want suicide to have had to be Noah's end. He doesn't want him to have to feel that that's something that he can't avoid. He wants to
Yeah.
help, even though he can't really interfere. He hopes that other people would help Noah, and that's kind of the reason that I'm so cruel to him, because I want my readers to learn what Noah learns about
Yeah.
death and suicide. And
It's also very interesting. You're what, 24, 26, 7,
26.
27.
26. I think, am I 26? I
I've
think
been
I
messing
just
with.
turned 26.
You just think. I've been messing with my wife. She turns a year older later this week, and she hates me. I've been telling her she's turning 70 and 67 and 50 something, and I think I might be getting divorced now. But you never write farther than the street that you live on. You know what I mean? You can't write farther than the last street light that you can see in the dark. And Noah Finn, to me, is this thing. I mean, you were 11 years old when 9/11 happened, and this horrible moment in history occurred that you didn't understand for anything. And then as you're growing up, 7/77 happened, and, subway bombings, and this and that, and war, your entire life, your entire adult life, puberty through, now it's still happening. People are dying. Body counts on the news, this other thing, and you can't get over it. The news is shoving death down your throat and destruction and bombings and disease, and you could die from blah, blah, blah. And while I'm reading Noah Finn, I'm thinking to myself, what you're trying to establish here is that you have a choice. You could jump, but at the end of the day, death is going to pull you down anyway. And that, to me, was the most profound moment of the novel, when Noah Finn died, because Noah Finn was going to die. Whether he jumped off that building, which was a tragedy because life is so fleeting, because he was going to die anyway.
We're all eventually going to die. It's up to us most of the time. It's up to us to kind of intervene with it. It's up to us to live our lives, and death happens when it happens. And sometimes it's unavoidable, and sometimes you can totally avoid it. And it's a choice sometimes for people. And I know that Noah Finn and the Art of Suicide is quite a leap from what I usually write, and it's quite a leap from, I mean, I'm only 26, and people probably read it and think, well, what does she know about
perfect age to do
life
that
and
kind of stuff.
suicide?
It's perfect
because
age.
she's young, and
you're not young.
And I mean, fair enough. Well,
you're almost an old lady. I mean, 26. My God.
Nearly 30. But yeah,
Nearly
some people
30.
might kind of think, well, what life experience has she had to write such a book? But I think I see.
Went over 1,000 things that you had in your life to experience writing the book that you let me read, and it's very poetic. I mean, granted,
Thank
you
you.
started as a speculative author, and you will write more speculative fiction going forward. And like I said, everything that you will write in this street that you can only see, you know, the last street light, and they'll be beautiful in terms of the life that you've led. But
yeah, I hope so. But I think, I don't know, I think it's a strange book for me to write because usually I'm a young adult high fantasy author. So when I got the ideas for Noah and a relative placed some ideas in my head about Noah, I kind of thought, well, I'll give it a go. The story will be as long as it turns out to be. And if it's crap, then I'll just never let it see the light of day. But when I read it back to myself, I kind of thought maybe there's something here. And people seem to prefer Noah Finn and The Art of Suicide to the other work that I produce. So I'm hoping that Pandora still does well, and I'm hoping that seeing as though it's my bestseller, people, the young adults that are now my loyal readers, will continue to be loyal readers. But I'm hoping I can now maybe rope a couple of adults in as well.
as
And grab their
the
interest
great Jason Abbott has said, Pandora will do well because you sell Nathan. There's nobody in the world named Nathan. Noah Finn, and Noah Finn will do well when you sell the next novel. And what you're doing is wonderful, and you're a motivating factor to me too. It's like, God damn it, this 26-year-old. Okay, I'm gonna write this novel now.
Sorry,
I have your face
I don't
on
mean
a
to put pressure on anybody else.
I have your
don't mean
picture. I printed out your picture and I have it on a dartboard, and it's the darts that it'll do.
If that motivates you to write more, Brian, then by all means throw darts at my head. But
oh my God, I don't need
I think
motivation
I'm
to
going
write
to need.
more. I just need to write the stupid finish this novel. Finish the novel.
I think I'm going to need a printout of my own head and throw darts at my own head by the time this book comes out, because I don't know. I think it's just, well, it is almost out, and I think I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the book with people. I think it'll be well received, and it's not a long book, so it's not like I love long books, but I think sometimes it's nice just to have a refreshing, something quick to pick up, read in a couple of hours, and then move on. And I think if this book was any longer, it's already emotional enough. I mean, I've brought 3 people to tears, 3 of my beta readers to tears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's something completely new for me. I've never brought a reader to tears, good or bad, before.
How'd that make you feel when they told you that?
Terrible,
Really?
absolutely terrible.
I made my
really
mom cry
guilty.
once,
So
and I felt so good.
really, really guilty. So, like, I kind of, when they told me they were happy tears because of the ending, I felt a little bit less guilty. But it's never nice to make people cry, whether it's for a good reason or a bad. I always feel awful.
That's the best. As a writer, you want to make people cry. You want to make them feel emotions, especially happy tears.
It's kind of like a sick target that we authors have. That if I can make somebody cry, it's a good book. But
laughter when they chuckle, it's like, what's so funny? Huh? What happened? I love that.
It's never nice to judge the success of a book on whether or not you bring your friend or your beta reader or a family member to tears. So, but the very fact that three different people have found it emotional enough to shed a tear is
what I like to do is I like to give somebody something I wrote to read, and then as they're reading it, I like to sneak up on them and punch them in the stomach. How'd that make you?
Let me just say, I'm glad I'm not a beta reader in your area, because I don't think I'd want to be punched in the stomach. I think I might have lost you, Brian.
Nope, there you are. My computer was doing something.
Oh, okay.
It took the best moment to cut me off. It's like, no.
And I think I've lost you again. Oh no, you're back. No, I've lost you again.
That over the internet.
You're very Dalek-y.
Dum-dum. What was that?
I can only catch every other word that you're saying, Brian.
Oh, my computer's being a jerk.
Oh, there we go. You're back. Right.
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Some kind of update or something is happening.
The joys of live podcasting. Yes. Anything
Actually,
can happen.
Let me write down that time so I will definitely be able to tell the dead air, but yeah, whatever. So The Right Room, has a weekly writing challenge that only one person is succeedingly putting work into. How come that is?
Because I am a lazy bugger, and I also no, it's probably just because at the moment I am so stressed with Noah Finn. Once the book comes out, I think I'll feel more relaxed enough to kind of just sit and write shorts. But I don't write shorts usually anyway. I'm a novel kind of person. I always have a novel on the go. I very rarely sit and write 500 words of something, unless it's an idea or a segment that's going to be slotted into a novel. I'm not very good at short, snappy pieces of writing. So maybe that's something I need to work on.
I love the short ones. They actually do feed the longer pieces too, for me. They work either as a beginning or a middle or something.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that once Noah Finn comes out and I've got some time, I can maybe work on a couple of pieces and they will slot into one of my other books at some point. So
Yeah. And you said you're working on something else too. What is the thing that you're working on now? The do you want to talk about it, or is that kind of the secret
it's in
back
the
room?
it's in the very early stages, so I can't really reveal anything because if it doesn't go anywhere, I will have,
Yeah.
you know,
Back in the
so
day, I used to think if I talked about a project, it would kill it immediately.
well, it kind of takes away the excitement. I want to be still excited about it and I want to kind of be psyched to write it. And I think the more you talk about an idea before it's actually on the page, it kind of wears it out and it kind of just deflates it. So I'm keeping
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
a
Totally
little bit
understand that.
closer for the just
I
for
was
the
going to
time
use the
being. And
metaphor
as
of like a
soon as
spider web. You're weaving this thin,
yeah.
thin microscopic deal that could just totally fall apart. Because then you start feeling stupid about the ideas, like, oh, that's dumb. Oh,
Yeah,
that's dumb.
so
I don't like that.
so I can't really talk
So,
about the novella idea, but the next Day On book will be out in 2018. The next Pandora book will be out in 2018, and hopefully the
wow.
novella, if it turns into something, will also be out. So
Is Pandora written, or has
yes,
it yet to be written? Oh, it
the
is.
next 4 ebooks, which makes the next paperback, because there's 4 ebooks per paperback, are all written. They just need a rewrite and an edit. So they shouldn't take me too long. I'm hoping I can maybe in a couple of months, say, I don't know, March, Aprilish, I can maybe get another one out and
It's
another
incredible.
few months from there. So
Wouldn't it be
steady going.
funny if Pandora does make your career? Somebody snaps it up and starts making movies.
Well, if I'm being honest, I think even though Pandora's got me this far and it's been the book that the bookstores have taken in, it's got me on TV, it's got me on radio, it's got me known really. It's done its job and people are enjoying it for what it is. But if I'm being honest, I don't think it'll be Pandora that gets me the success that I'm hoping I have. But it's my job as a writer to write the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and hope that as I'm doing that, I'm getting better and one of those will get picked up.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel pigeonholed with Pandora? Do you feel stuck as a concept, like you wish you had written something different or not done the series? I know you just said that that's your job as having started Pandora, but I always worry.
Um,
I mean, a lot of authors say don't do series because then you get stuck writing series, and that's what you get known as, the series writer.
no, I think Pandora for me is a very comfortable place when I'm writing through the eyes of Harriet. I mean, it's third person now. It originally, right back at the start in 2010, was a first person deal, but it's third person, and I feel comfortable writing Harriet. I feel like I really know her and that her stories flow quite naturally. So when I return to a Pandora book, I almost feel like I'm going home. It's a really strange feeling.
Huh.
But I have no quarrels with Pandora. I enjoy it. I've got the Resurrection of Pandora is the next paperback, and then the Rise of Pandora is the final one.
Oh, final.
Yeah, there's due to be 12 books altogether. 3 paperbacks with 4 ebooks in, or 4 smaller books
So you're
in
finishing
each
it.
one.
This is it.
So
No more
yeah,
Pandora. Wow.
no. So after the 12th book, that'll be that. And I think after 12 books, I think it
No,
deserves
that's
its
that's
rest.
pretty
So
significant. How do you feel about that? I mean, you just said it was comfortable, like a warm bath kind of, and you're about to
yeah,
get up
it
in
is.
the frigid cold air with
It
no.
is a comfortable place, but I think that's part
Yeah.
of the reason I'll be pleased when it ends because, to be honest, it is nice to have a comfortable place to go and write, but at the same time, all the best books are risky. All the best books make you squirm, make you feel uncomfortable writing them. They all put you out of your comfort zone, and I think Pandora's too much in that comfort zone for me at the moment. It's nice because I can produce something that young adults enjoy, and that the school kids that I visit enjoy, and they get stuck into it, and they like the characters and the mythology behind it, and it's enjoyable to write. But I think I need to step out of my comfort zone now and get risky.
I really think you did that with Noah Finn. Wow, you just went to the
Well,
most.
I would hope that.
You went to like Camp Murdo and like stepped out the door in your swimming suit with Noah Finn and the Art of Suicide. It's like you went to the most devastating place of the 21st century and said, "Here I am, writing about your whatevers."
And I'm still not sure it was a wise decision, but
Why
it is
wasn't
what it is.
You just said that you wanted to go to the most uncomfortable place as an artist and as a writer, and you did that.
Oh,
and now you're going to write something. I mean, God, how does that feel?
I did.
You
but how?
You finished Pandora, and you did what you said you wanted to do. That's incredible. That's brave.
Well, thank you.
It is. I mean, what else could you have done? I mean, I guess you could have written like a memoir about your sex life or something. But
well, I've got my post-apocalyptic trilogy as well, the Aeon Infinitum series that I wrote, the trilogy.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So the first one of those is out. That's Run for Your Life. That's already out and doing its job. And the second one, I'm actually trying to finish this month for NaNoWriMo. I've got 20,000 words of it written. I'm aiming for 50. So if I can get that done this month, the initial draft, that'll be something else I can work on next year. And
Isn't Pandora kind of a post-apocalyptic science fiction fantasy type of novel series?
It's a high fantasy, but it is set in the way future of the human race. So we have effectively left Earth, and God has created us a new planet and assigned the supernatural beings on that planet to kind of guard us and protect us, because, well, let's face it, we're not right good at doing that ourselves, are we? So that's kind of the deal with Pandora. And not to give anything away, but the rise of Pandora does kind of bring Earth back into it a little bit. So that'll be exciting, because it'll kind of be a post-apocalyptic, but then we're actually going back. We're actually returning to where we originally started, or at least the series is going to touch on that. So
it's very interesting. Nice. So Aeon could actually be a prequel to Pandora in a way.
Yeah, kind of. Aeon Infinitum Run for Your Life is actually the middle book of the trilogy, but it's released first. And then the prequel, The Wanted, is the one that I'm working on now. And the sequel, Faded Realm, is the one that I have about 10,000 words already done, but that's still in the works, really. So, but it'll be a trilogy and no more than that, because frankly, I don't think it needs to be anymore.
And that'll ride you through until like the 2020s.
I don't know. I don't know how long that's going to take. I'm hoping 2018 we'll see the next paperback of Pandora. So the next 4 ebooks of Pandora, and the prequel of Aeon, so The Wanted that I'm working on now, and a novella. That's what I'm aiming for in 2018. And then 2019, we'll see the rise of Pandora, the other Aeon book, and then whatever else I decide to work on.
It's exciting talking to you about your publishing, your writing. The last thing I want to talk to you about is your actual, I don't know what you want to call it, your editing, covers, assisting type of stuff.
Oh, my like author services, is that what you mean?
Yeah, your author services.
Yeah.
When I think about you in terms of your writing, obviously you're an artist, you're an author, you produce content, and then on the other side of the ball, you kind of you provide these other services where you are guiding other artists in their marketing, with their art, with their editing, and blah blah, that certain sense. You're kind of helping publish people's work. What do you see yourself doing with that going forward?
To be honest, at the moment, I don't see myself doing. I don't. I just see what it is at the moment, and it is me just putting my own skills to some use to help some indie authors achieve what I've managed to achieve so far. And if that turns into something else later down the line, be it a publishing company of my own or an imprint of my own or something, then brilliant. If it turns into full-time editing, with writing books or whatever,
that's got to be
great.
exhausting to be a full-time editor and write your own stuff. I mean, I couldn't even imagine doing that.
I can imagine it would be exhausting, but it's what I love to do. It's what I'm good at, and I kind of feel that that's where I would like to head eventually.
Oh, really?
But life is life, and other stuff gets involved and gets in the way, and you go down different paths, and things interrupt plans and take you down another route. So I'm just kind of looking forward to enjoying life as it is at the moment and whatever possibilities are thrown my way in the future. So I'm kind of just trying to be in the now and enjoy what's happening now.
Well,
Somebody said
isn't
to
the
me the other
now
day,
also including that author service stuff, or are you putting that on the back burner?
no, it does involve now. It does involve the services. But like somebody said to me the other day, if you were to get picked up by a traditional publisher and become an overnight success, wouldn't that be awesome? And my reply was, it would be awesome, and I would love that.
But it's not
But
going to
I'm
stop
also
any of
kind
the
of
stuff that you're doing, though. I mean, you still have to do the podcast. You
exactly,
still have to do the author services. You
exactly.
still have to do the marketing. The only
But I'm
thing
also
being,
really enjoying what's happening now. And I think if I was to suddenly be taken away from that, it'd be a bit of a shock to the system. I'd like to gradually build my following and gradually do what the successful authors have done, because that's how they did it. They didn't just send the first ever manuscript they'd ever written unedited to a publisher and then the next day be multimillionaires. It doesn't work like that. It takes time. And I think I'm glad that it takes some time
it
because I'm
takes, like
really
what we
enjoying
talked about
it.
at the beginning of this conversation, it takes a lot of effort and showing up every single day and working,
Exactly.
working, 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 working.
And I think, yes, it would be brilliant to be an overnight success. And I would love to be picked up by a traditional publisher. And I'd love to go down all the different publishing routes that there is ever possible because it's so exciting. But I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now. And I wouldn't want to be suddenly pulled away from that, because I think I'd miss some of the things that I do. I'd miss editing for people. I'd miss creating my own covers. And I think whilst it's still a possibility for me, I'm going to really enjoy it, and I'm going to take as much work in as I can, and then gradually in the future, hopefully things will change for the better and I can gradually change that. But I wouldn't want anything drastic to change at the moment. Does that make sense? as babbly as that came
No, I
out.
mean, it totally does make sense. But when you say an imprint, I'm like, oh, that does sound interesting. But I wouldn't want to edit anybody's work. I wouldn't want to design anybody's covers either, but I would like to say, oh, that's nice. Let's use it.
Yeah, well, I think just
I
because I
just don't
like,
want to do any of that work. I want to write, and I
see,
like to
I
judge
enjoy the
stuff.
work aspect of it. I enjoy doing editing. I enjoy making the mistakes and fixing them. I enjoy putting a cover together and sourcing the images and playing around with the editing software and the text and all that kind of thing. I just find it fascinating, and I like to learn, and all the different additional skills that I've kind of picked up over the past couple of years. If I can help another author to do that for themselves and then go on to help another and another, and they help somebody and they help somebody, then we're in business, aren't we? So that's just kind of what I'm hoping for at the moment. If it turns into something else in a couple of years, fantastic. But as it stands, I'm
Oh,
really
no. What
enjoying
about
it. And
relationships? What about forming something in terms of communication? Because you help so many people and they go flittering off into their job as I don't know, a computer engineer, or their job as a garbage man or cop or whatever they do on their whatever, and they forget about writing because they didn't really want to do it to begin with, and the help that you gave them sits on their shelf, and there was so much work and they didn't get any benefit out of it because they never wrote anything else, right?
so do you
And
mean like, am I worried that my advice and everything I do for people is going to be wasted? Is that what you mean?
no, I don't care about that. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of what impotence out there in terms of where things go. I'm just saying, like, if you had a stable of people that you worked with, the communication with that stable of people would grow
Mm-hmm.
stronger and stronger and stronger. You would be able to count on that stable of people, and the effort and artistry that that stable of people could produce would be better than, say, a random Joe Smith who just comes along, hey, would you edit my book? And then he disappears. And then you work on another Joe Smith's book and you work
Yeah.
on Joe Smith's cover or something like that instead of, a continue. It just sucks that I misspelt my name on the back cover of my novel. You know what I mean? And it sucks that you used the wrong airline and there wasn't somebody looking over your shoulder going, that's wrong, this is wrong, fix this, boom, and you wasted $300 or
Well,
whatever.
the responsibility lies with me, and I think the
It
responsibility
does.
initially lies with every author. And the whole point of hiring an editor is hiring an editor, in my eyes, should be the last step. It should
Like
be,
$6,000 though. As
well,
an
exactly,
indie,
but
you're like, "Ugh."
you wouldn't write a first draft and send it to an editor and pay however many thousands of pounds or dollars to have that done, and then for them to come back with ridiculous amounts of edits. Because if you had just sat down and taken an extra month or two to iron through it, to go through it, to learn what you need to do yourself, and then provided that manuscript later on, it's going to be less, it maybe cost you less, because some editors work that way. It's maybe going to cost you less, and it's not going to take as much time, and it's not going to make you feel as shit as you would when you get the red pen marks back. And I think
I
hiring
don't
an
even
editor
care. I
is the
love red pen
last
marks.
stage.
You know what I want? I want my wife to quit her job and us move to a farm someplace and her just to edit my tweets all day long. She looks at
Have
me
you
like
told her this?
yeah, I've told her many times, and she just looks at me like I'm on crack. She's like, really? I had children with you?
I think,
No,
I
but
don't know, I
my
think,
point is I want a commune. I think I have not really put any thought into it until right now. I want a commune of people with the same ideas who are working on their own projects, who just rely on people within that same commune. It's not, I want your money. It's, I have a project, will you look at it? You know what I mean? Beta read this for me. Okay,
yeah.
well, beta read my shit, bitch. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Now you're
think
sharing effort.
the perfect example of that kind of relationship would be the indie fabs that I interviewed on the White Room.
That's right. What happened
Alina
with them?
Del
I was supposed to get
Rey.
them on my show and they like totally flaked or never happened or whatever.
I think because there's just so many of them, I don't think it's that they're not interested. They're just busy, and they all have different. They all live random places across the country as well,
Oh yeah.
across the world. So getting them all. I mean, one of them lives in Australia or New Zealand somewhere. The other one's in America, and the
Those
finding
are tough
time
podcasts, man.
differences are just, yeah, they're just really hard to get together. And but they do for each other what you're talking about. They beta read, they cover design, they're supportive, they share stuff, they promote for each other. They're just really solid friends, and I think that they've kind of built that. They're past colleagues. They're now friends, and they're now just so invested in each other's success. And whatever they put out, they get twice in return. And I think it's just fantastic. And I totally agree that having such a relationship would be brilliant. But
Right?
I think it's really difficult to
Difficult to
build
find
those
that.
sorts of
Yes,
relationships,
I agree.
because you have to find that trust first and build on it. And I think these days, especially online, it's hard to trust people.
Yes.
It is, and you just fall lucky sometimes. We felt lucky finding each other as friendships and contacts with similar interests, and
Mhm.
we both have the same kind of goals, and we both want to be
Yes.
successful. And I think sometimes it's just hard, and you just have to fall lucky sometimes, and just automatically getting a magic set of 5 people that all believe in each other and all want to support each other with
One
no,
step at a time. You know what I mean? You have
yeah,
26.2 miles to run a marathon. You're not going to do it taking one
no,
step.
these things take time, and it's very difficult to find somebody that doesn't expect, that isn't doing it for some other reason. I mean, they might be invested in you and they might really want you to succeed, but is there another underlying issue? And until you've known that person a while, you're not going to know these sort of things. So
Yeah.
it would be nice to build such a group of people, and I think I'm already partially on the way to doing that, but it takes time.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I think, well, I have nothing else to say. I think you said it all for me. That's wonderful. So what is your marketing plan right now in terms of No Offend? What is it up next for you? Do you have a list that you're trying to accomplish with it, or are you, I was going to say freeballing it, but I doubt you're doing that.
Um,
What's coming up for you? What are you
it's,
doing to get the word out
it's
for
interesting
No
you
Offend?
mentioned a marketing plan, actually, because I actually have just written my marketing plan up. I always do a marketing plan. I do it in stages. I do it in sections. It's like a format that I follow. And it covers things like social media. It covers celebrity endorsements. It
Ooh, you have
covers.
celebrity endorsements?
I am hoping to. I have kind of some things in the works, some contacts that I will hopefully be sending the book to. And I already have 3 endorsements coming in, with possibly more on the horizon. So it would be
Oh my
nice
God,
if,
that would be like nice to get into the cover. Call
well,
Craigslist.
yeah.
Cancel the order.
again. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna go online, you know, on the product page, and they're on my website and things like that. I'm waiting for 2 of them to come in, and one of them's already up and running, and he had nothing but positive comments to say. Bless him, it was really, really nice, and the book was really well received by him. So I have quite a lot of things really planned for the marketing aspect of Noah Finn, but until I actually get the paperback copies on my doorstep, it's going to be difficult to do most of it, because a lot of that relies on me sending physical copies to people. So I'm just waiting to do that, but the online bit's already started. I've got a running competition going, I've got some hashtags going, I've got a playlist that I keep sharing, my Noah Finn playlist, just little things that I like to share just to get people involved with Noah and his story. And obviously my merchandising aspect, I like to merchandise, so I've got a lot of that going on, with Noah's handkerchief, and just one thing after another, really. So I'm hoping people like what I've got planned.
Yeah, I can't wait to buy the novel. I'm looking forward to seeing what you accomplish with the handkerchief. That was a nice little thing. I can't.
Well,
words are escaping me.
at the
My
book
brain.
signing,
41
there's
years old.
going to
My
be
brain is not working anymore.
at the book signings this December, there's going to be an option for you to either
Symbol.
just get a
That was
signed
the
book.
word. Symbol. The blue handkerchief was a wonderful symbol throughout the novella.
Yeah, and I wanted to make better use of that, so I have actually got blue handkerchiefs and navy blue handkerchiefs. So you can either be with Noah or with Christopher when you buy a book from me. And if you buy the book direct and get it signed as a paperback, you will get a Noah Finn handkerchief as well, as a token of my thanks.
Can you buy direct from America, from Yorkshire? Will you ship to America and Australia and Canada and all that stuff, or do you have to be in England to get directly shipped from you?
To order from my website at the moment, you have to be in England, unless I already kind of have. Well, let's put it this way. If you're a friend and you live in the US and you wanted a copy, I could sort that out. But to actually go on from Australia or wherever and purchase a copy, I wouldn't be able to ship it at the moment. I'm working on getting a PO box address to be able to do that. But when you send things from England, you have to send it with a return address on if you send it abroad. And at the moment, I'm not really sure I want everybody knowing where I live. So
No,
I'm working on it.
Very dangerous in today's world, especially if you're an online personality. It's not a very smart thing to do.
So I think it's important for indie authors that sell abroad to have a PO box of some kind, but they're very expensive. So that's something I'm going to be working on, hopefully in 2018. But if you live in the UK, you can get a signed paperback copy sent direct to your doorstep if you go on. But Noah's not actually available yet. It'll be available on December 2nd.
But obviously, you can go on Amazon and you can order the ebook and you can order the physical copybook directly.
Oh yeah,
on Amazon.
Yeah. Anybody in the world could do that. And the pre-order for the ebook's already up and it's already going and attracting attention and all that kind of thing, doing what pre-orders are supposed to do. So awesome. You can actually go and pre-order the ebook if you wanted to. The paperback, not at the moment. That again is we have to wait until December 2nd, unfortunately. But just makes it more exciting.
And media appearances for you? Are you going to be on TV or on air anywhere else besides the White Room?
Yeah, I have 2 interviews booked already with 2 UK radio stations and a third that have agreed to cover it for me when it's nearer the time. I just have to get in touch with them and tell them sort of what my plans are, and they will interview me then. I also had a newspaper cover me, which is the first ever physical printed newspaper I've been in. That was last month. That was really cool.
You already handled that, like not this year, but last year.
No, I was in. I've been on like online magazines and online kind of things, but I've never actually physically been printed in a newspaper. I was in a magazine earlier this year, but never a newspaper. So that was kind of cool, and I didn't even realize that I was in it. A family member messaged my dad and said to my dad, "Did you know that Rachel's in?"
I recall though, you committed some form of larceny. You broke into the office and stole like whole stacks of the magazine. And
I contacted a local travel information in our area and just said, "You've got all these copies of this magazine and the new one's due to come out, and I'm in the one that you've got. If you've got any copies, can I have them?" And she gave me 50 copies so they wouldn't be destroyed. So I'm going to be giving those away for free as well at my book signing.
I thought for sure you were a rebel and you broke in the middle of the night. I was picturing you all in black, ski mask with a glass cutter, and Open the window.
No, I asked politely, and like I always say, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I asked and I got.
That's awesome.
And that was that. They were really, really nice about it. So yeah, they provided me with some extra copies, and they're going to be given out signed, free with purchases at my book signing and online and all that good stuff.
So what else you got coming up that we should be aware of, or that actually, I would like if you could do me a favor, send me the links to all of your engagements that people should be aware of so they can tune in. Like if you have any of that stuff, I'll put it in the show notes. Be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the link to the pre-order, and if people go to my website rachaelhardcastle.com, there's, if you kind of scroll down on the main page, there's a lot of Noah Finn stuff, advertisements, snippets, reviews, all that kind of thing. And there is actually a link to enter a competition to win a signed first edition. So I'll send you the link to that as well.
Perfect. So you know how we finish up? The three questions. Man, what advice do you give people? I mean, I know you have advice, but how do you stay so motivated? How do you do this on a daily basis? How do you find the energy to power through these moments of self-doubt? I mean, God, I've been getting emails from you off and on for the last couple of weeks, and I would not have done what you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have spent a little bit more time and just agonized over blah blah blah, but you powered through this thing. How did you do it? How did you stay so motivated? And
from the book, you'll know that I believe that life is precious. But let's put it this way: with the stress that I've had, I was very close to renaming the book Rachael Hardcastle and the Art of Suicide.
oh my goodness.
I was so stressed.
Devastating.
But not quite.
So many people would be so devastated.
Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it's a stressful process. And I think if you don't actively push yourself and actively say, right, get off your ass, let's do it. Let's just fix this one problem and then you can relax. Let's just do this one thing. Let's just email this one more person. Everything job-wise takes 5-10 minutes tops. Small jobs with marketing and fixing little issues, they don't take long. And if you just do it, then you're free to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that creates the progress. If you just sort of say, I'll do it tomorrow, when it gets to tomorrow, like I said before, you hit the snooze button. So it's just about not being tempted to hit that snooze button. If you can, build a cage around the snooze button so you can't physically touch it, and then go at it from there. So if I was to give anybody any advice, I'd say avoid that snooze button. What you can do today, do today, and do not put anything off just for the sake of it. Just do it, get it done, and then move on.
The snooze button. Best advice on the face of the planet. Totally agree with that. Second question, man, I know you read a lot, so this is going to be a long one. What are you reading right now that we should be aware of?
I am reading The Jungle Book. I have a really beautiful edition that my mother-in-law bought me for I believe my last birthday, and it's kind of an interactive edition. So it's a hardback with like a cloth-bound cover, full color, illustrated, beautiful designs on the inside. And there's actually things that like pop out and maps that pull out and all sorts. So I'm reading that. I'm about 2/3 of the way through that. And I'm also reading, my next book on the list is Tom Hanks, his
that's right. You haven't read that yet? You haven't started that?
No, well, I wanted to finish The Jungle Book, but I've been so busy that I've not had time to finish it. So, and I only really read on an evening, so it's slow going for me. But I'm really enjoying it, and Tom Hanks will be the next one. And then from there, God knows, whatever looks good.
Right, you're a prolific reader. It's interesting about The Jungle Book. Does that give you ideas for production in terms of what you would like to see Pandora or maybe Aeon or maybe a future publication look like?
Well, when I read it, I kind of think, wow, it'd be I can imagine the production cost of something like that. Something so special and so unique would be ridiculous.
That's like a complete classic though too.
Well, yeah, but there's a couple more. I think they've now done Peter Pan and Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid in those particular designs. So I think if you were to look them up, I can get you the name of the publisher. I think it's a Bloomsbury book, and it's a hardback, like an interactive hardback, and it's the Jungle Book edition that I've got. It's green.
Bloomsbury, you said? U-R-Y?
I think so, Bloomsbury.
It's very curious. I wonder, those kind of books obviously are probably common domain, right? I mean, common, whatever it's called. They probably spent an arm and a leg on the publication for something that very few people are probably going to buy. And the idea that these are so interactive is fascinating because, I mean, obviously people have iPods and iPads and computers and video games. Other than, Rachael Hardcastle, who is buying those books?
Well,
It's a
I don't
labor
know.
of love. I mean, I can't even imagine how much the money these people are making on these books.
I don't know, but they're gorgeous editions, and if I can collect, I mean, I like to collect hardbacks anyway. I collect the Barnes and Noble leather-bound classics, and I have about 7 of those so far. So I like to add special, unique hardbacks to my collection. It's something that I just like to do. So hopefully, when I've read the Jungle Book, I can get one of the others. But I do plan on reading Tom Hanks's book next. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you say about his short fiction. I'm not going to look at it. Obviously, last question is, where can we find you?
You can
World
find
Wide Web.
me at erachelhardcastle.com. So Rachel spelled Rachael, Rachel Hardcastle. I'm on Facebook at /erachelhardcastle and Twitter Hardcastle. And I think I'm the same as Facebook on Instagram as well. I think I'm Rachel Hardcastle on Instagram. So, but there's links to all my social media anyway through my website. So it's like a one-stop place.
Perfect. And as usual, I think this is the 3rd time you've been on Origin. If not, then we'll definitely have you on again. It's been a joy. Thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me back on.
You've been great. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.